colors I'm going to be using today. Maybe not all of them, but I pulled a couple choices out just so I'd have them. And most generally when I start coloring an image on Copic, with Copics, I usually draw the clothing first. Now I know it's probably different for everybody and there's obviously no right or wrong way. But I love doing the clothes first and then kind of like filling in all the blank spaces after. So I'm going to start with her dress, and I use 2 colors for that. I use R00 and also R01. Here we go. I'm going to try to keep my hand out of the way as best as I can. The basic way that they teach you to do to color with Copics is to color in little circles. And you never want to like draw, color here and then go up to the top and start to color, because you're going to end up with a line there that you can't blend out. I tend to color in bigger circles instead of the real tiny ones, and I think it's just because I want to get it all covered, and I generally go over it twice just to make sure it's all good. And then before I start layering more, I'm going to let it sit for just a second. You don't want your paper to get so wet or saturated with ink that it begins to fray or gets kind of soggy, if you know what I mean. So I give it just a second to rest for a moment, and then I'm going to go with the same color, R00. I'm going to draw in my shadows. And I like to start the shadow out with the same color just because it gives me a guideline when I bring my other colors in. Obviously, you'll probably hear me say this 1,000 times, but there's no right or wrong to coloring. So just, and the best way to learn is to just practice. I wish I had some of those first ones I did. I thought I was so good too. You know how that goes. You're like, yes, it's awesome. And then if I could only go back and see how it looks really, now when you go back. The same thing with my older scrapbooks. I just think it's so funny. So now I'm going to go in with the R01 and just following the same lines. I'm going to just kind of do, I don't want to color all the way over, but I do want to add to my shadows, so I'm going to go up here as well. I think the shadows that look more realistic are not just straight across, and I think I probably just said that. They're not linear. You want to give some curve to it because the shadow doesn't just go like flat, right? So, and there's, I don't know, there's 1,000 ways you could probably do it. This is just my cheat, if you know what I mean. Alright, so that's it for the dress. So next one I'm going to do are the buttons, and I'm going to use R22, which is light prawn. And I'm going to just kind of dab on because I don't want it to be too bright. And if you kind of dab just little spots until you get your whole area covered, it's going to be not so saturated. Then I'm also going to put it over here in the heart as well. And then I'm going to, for this side, on my other image I did greens and blues, but I want to do gray and purple today because I'm trying to work outside my normal colors, right? So that's the best thing to do. I have such a hard time with it. So for the other side of the dress, I'm going to be doing N0, N2, and BV0. So I'm going to start with the purple. This is a really pretty color. It's very light and kind of dusky. So I'm just going to add these here to the side. And I'm not putting too much pressure again just because I don't want the color to get too deep. I want it to kind of stay the real light color that it is. And there's so much going on this side, I don't know that I'm really going to worry about shadows and that. I'm just going to leave it like it is. And so now I'm going to go in, oh, hang on just a second, because I want to add purple to these little polka dots here. Alright, so now with the N0, I'm going to come in, I'm just going to cover the whole thing. I'm going to even go over the purple a little bit because I'm going to add some more purple in. Just filling in those areas that I haven't had yet. Then I'm going to come back through with my purple, the BV00, and go ahead and just fill these in. And I'm not too worried about it hitting this because I'm going to color this purple as well. Up through here. And these, I'm letting them, I'm not worrying about it staying right in the polka dot because that's just madness, you know. Now I'm going to go in with my N2. And I'm just going to kind of draw these right across the lines that are already there, just to give a little definition. Do those. And then maybe fill in a little bit around here. So now what I'm going to do is the little like belt that goes around the dress. Starting with N0. I'm just going to very simply just bring that color in. I don't want it to stand out too much, so I'm not going to make it too dark. And then I'm going to go through with my BV00, and just on the line that's already drawn for the crease, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to I want to get quite a bit of color on there. And then I'm going to go through with my N0, and just along this purple line, I'm just going to go back and forth just to try to blend that in a bit. And that adds in a little bit of our color. And then I think I'm going to take the N2 and then just do it. I'm going to turn this real quick. Sorry guys, it's hard to do that way. Just to give a little bit of more definition. And now I want to do the top of the dress, which is going to, I'm not going to add the extra colors. I'm going to just do the one color, which is R00. Coloring with Copic and getting great like shadows and depths is easy, and I like to sometimes just use one color and you just keep going over and it'll give you those depths. But I wanted the top to be a little bit lighter than the bottom. I wanted it to kind of set the tone. And then for the very top here, the little, since this is part of the clothing, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I'm going to use my R22 and my BV00. Whoops, sorry guys. And I'm going to do, there's no rhyme or reason to this, but because the purple's on this side, I'm going to do this purple flower, this flower purple, oh my word. And I'm only going to color the very center. Now the rest I'm going to fill in with different color. This one here I'm going to do in the center, and this is a real strong color, so you don't need a lot to use it. This flower here, the pink one, I'm going to do with R00 just to blend it in. And I just want, you know, the more concentrated color on the inside and just kind of feathering out to the outside. And then I'm going to just add a little more just so it shows up. Then I'm going to use N0 for the flower, the purple flower. And this one I'm going to try to not really touch the purple too much because it's hard to, the purple's so soft, it kind of turns to gray if you do that. And then I'm going to just add a little bit more purple. Alright, so the colors I use for skin, and these are the two I fall back on, and it's going to be a little odd, are E00 and E51. Now I know there's a huge gap between these two pens, and you really, with Copic markers, when you're, especially if you're wanting to blend, let me get this price tag off real quick, sorry guys. If you're really wanting a good blend, you don't want to go too far in number, but as long as my second numbers are close, because this is a 0 and this is a 1, it works out pretty good. So I think they blend really well, and I really love how they turn out. So I'm going to start with E00, and I'm going to just cover her whole face. And I don't worry too much about getting up into her hairline because I am going to make her hair brown. So that, you know, that way you don't have to be too cautious about how you do things or where you're going to put it. And then she does have glasses, and I'm not going to color them in, you know, or give them any kind of a tint. So you just, especially with some things, you want to make sure, because the glasses kind of go outside of her face, so you might want to make sure that you are really paying attention to detail, that you're not, you know, coloring outside the line there. Here, it probably wouldn't matter because her hair is there, is just, I mean, just for thought. And I'll end up coloring that in as part of her hair, so, you know, that gives you a little bit of space to not have to worry about it so much. I'm going to go ahead and do her neck as well. That way we have it. I usually forget that, and at the end I'm like, oh, I still got to do her neck. And then I'm going to go ahead and just do this top part again real quick, and down maybe on her cheekbones a bit. And now I'm going to go in with E51. The first time I color the whole face. Now this time I'm only going to color the top. I'll color her around her eyes. You also want to make sure that you don't get into the white of the eyes as well, because you want the eyes to look very crisp and clean. And then I'll come down just a little bit here on the sides and around the chin. But I like to leave the very middle of the face completely free just from coloring it the first time. And I just feel like that gives a really fresh look. It makes me think of that fresh summer glow that I think everybody likes to have now. I'm going to go ahead and do these. That'll just contour her chin a little bit. And I think I'm going to do one more time with the E51. And you can, if you want her to be a little bit darker, you would just keep doing the same thing. If you want her to be a little bit lighter, then you could have stopped where I stopped, but I want her to have a little color. If you want, you can feather some of it up towards that middle, but I like to keep the very middle kind of like her by her nose and her lips kind of free. If it looks too light, you could always go over it with your light color just a little bit, just so it doesn't look too odd. And then her neck, what you want to do, you want to think in shadows. So I should have it out with me, but I don't have it. I will do that in my next Copic tutorial. I have a little grid that teaches you how to color for where the sun is. But you have to think about where the sun is and how it's shadowing. So you want to always do a little shadow underneath her chin, because the sun would come down and of course it would be a little bit in the shade. So we'll do that. I'm just going to leave that open for a minute. And then we'll fill this in. And then I'm going to just do it one more time. Oh, I colored in her eye, the whites of her eye a little bit. It's inevitable. It really, really is. Let me see here. Let me figure out where my... Alright, so this is the blending pen, which does not really blend, but it kind of removes more than blends. And so you want to just kind of, I usually use the other end, I have more luck with that. And just kind of you just want to push it back over to where it belongs. So I'm going to end up probably removing a little bit of the, and you don't want to go, see, you can already see I've pretty much corrected it. And you don't want to do it, this is kind of like, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's a lot like when you're coloring, you don't want the paper to get too wet. So you can do it and let it dry for a second, and then come back in and do it again. And that clears it up. That's the wonder of the correcting pen. And then you want to just come back in and add color, because it also erases a little bit close to the line where the eye is. So we'll go ahead and get that all groovy again. I think that's good. And then what I do is I will put a little color on her cheeks. I will use R00 again, because this is a very useful marker, because you can use it for clothing, but you can also add just a little bit of color to the cheek. Just a little dot goes a long way. And then I'm going to go back in with my E00. Sorry, that's backwards. And you just want to kind of feather it in. And that just gives a little life to her cheeks.